Good morning, and welcome to Two Scoops Morning News with Dan and Craig. I'm Ron Burgundy.
And I'm not Ron Burgundy.
You're watching Two Scoops Morning News with Dan and Craig, your sunrise reminder that things could get worse, so laugh at them while you still can.
Well, if you know me, you know that my favorite thing to do, to talk about, to watch, to be in, to whatever.
Sex? Is it sex?
You went too literal with this. No, it's sports.
Okay.
My favorite thing in the world is
Real quick.
Yes.
We got to point out, Jack Skellington was first.
He beat so many. He fought hard, and good job. Good job, Mr. Skellington.
Real quick question. Did you put on the fake glasses because I wore my glasses today, or did we just happen to coincidentally both show up in glasses today?
These are not fake. They're blue light blocking glasses. Thank you very much. I bought them for $2 at Walmart, and I put them on before you came on. If you were paying attention, you would have noticed. Anyway, sports. We're talking about sports. Your favorite thing. One of my least favorite things. But it's big and it's important because sports are back open in the world. And now that they're back open, because the pandemic's over, we need to talk about why girls aren't allowed to compete against boys. Again, for some reason, we're going to talk about this. Now, this article is in The Atlantic. So, you know, theatlantic.com, so you know it's legit. It is separating sports by sex doesn't make sense. And I'll say I'm not going to read through this whole freaking thing because they spent 5 pages just lecturing us on why men and women are the same, which is not true. But they also made some points that I thought were decent. It starts out mostly talking about how this girl wanted to play on like a football team, and she had to go through this rigorous screening, or at least they called it. So they made it sound like a rigorous screening. I'm sure they're overplaying it, but that's besides the point.
Don't male players have to go through a rigorous screening to make sure they're physically capable of playing sports too? No, there's not like this thing called the sports physical to make sure everything works okay?
According to them, no. They at least not in this school setting. I don't know. Maybe in their area, in this school setting, the boys don't have to go through a physical. I always had to go through a physical if I wanted to do sports.
Yeah, it's everywhere. But so
I always had to go through a physical if I wanted to do sports. So I never went through a physical because I never wanted to do sports.
So the boys just walk on the field and they're like, "Hey, look, I got a wiener." And they're like, "Okay, you're good. You're on the team. You're on the team." And the girl walks on the field and like, "All right, show me 50 laps and then do 100 push-ups and then jump over this bus real quick."
And that little girl was Elizabeth Warren. Everybody comes up to me and says, "I'd watch your sports if you had a penis." Anyway, because man, okay, whatever. We didn't read any of this story, so saying the name doesn't make sense. But some things I wanted to point out. It says they required her to submit a record of her past performance in physical education class, a doctor's physical documenting her medical history, and assessments of her body type, height, weight, joint structure, and sexual maturity level. Breasts and pubic hair development measured according to a medical guideline known as the Tanner scale.
What the fuck is that?
This raises a lot of questions for me.
So many more questions than I thought I had. I thought I had this figured out. Maybe we don't.
Right. I'm like, benefit of the doubt. If you were telling the truth right now, yes, you are correct. And I don't if you're telling me that the boys just sign their name and check M in the box, then they're good to go. But you have to have your breast size and your pubic hair measured by a doctor before doing this, then yeah, I would say there's some unfair treatment here, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Now, of course, this eventually spins into sports are binary, and it's an old way of thinking, and trans people, even though the story that they're talking about here, the actual story that you sympathize with is not about a trans person. It's just
At
about a
all.
girl who wants to play sports. But for some reason, this has to do with that because, you know.
All right. So I have no problem with a female getting out and playing football as long as she's not going to die.
Right.
And and the standards have to be equal across the board. And the fact that to make the team, she has to be able to perform at that level. And yes, I'm sorry, as Jack Skellington points out, men do have physically more muscle mass. It's just not all men. There's a lot of men that have no muscle mass, and there's some big, like,
Well, that's the thing.
chicks out there.
I understand what you're saying, and if it's like professional sports, I agree. There should be some sort of screening, and there would be some sort of screening for professional sports because they would be trying out and stuff.
There's tryouts for high school too. You don't just walk on the field. Yeah, you may make the team, but you're not going to be on that field. You'll be warm in a nice spot on the bench if you're not good. So, I mean, yes, there's still tryouts for high school level sports and even middle school level sports. So, if you can keep up and you can, whoever you are, whether you're a man, woman, freaking trans, I don't care, as long as you can play the sport.
Right. So the issue here, or at least the way that the issue that they propose here, is that small boys, even like, I don't even know if they say this, but boys mature slower than girls. So there's probably a lot of girls that are taller, more athletically built and everything than a lot of the boys in their same grade in high school. So I think, like, I don't know, in high school, I'm perfectly fine with the women join. And that's the thing, is like the thing that they're focusing on is a woman joining man sports. And I would say men, for the most part, are like, yeah, keep up. I'm down. It's all good. The thing that men are concerned about is biological males beating the shit out of women and joining women's sports. Like, this is not the issue here that most people have.
We are far less concerned about a woman like encroaching on our territory on a football field than we are about a man going out in MMA and fighting a woman, or kicking a woman's ass in swimming or something like that. Those are the things we complain about. We never complain that some woman outran a dude in across a football field.
Right. Yeah, and from a like feminist perspective, you would think that this would be an easy sell of like, you guys can join our sports. We're just trying to help out and make sure men aren't out there taking advantage of women. Now, CD says rigorous screening, like to make sure she could actually play football. Well, yeah, but I mean, also
that
measuring breasts and pubic hair length, just some minor throwaway things. And again, like, this might all be bunk. I don't know. But taking them at their word, I agree with them on some things. I'm not just instantly
no.
Go up
what? Go up. Wait, right after the Tanner scale part. Go up to that.
Once she passed a fitness test, including a 1-mile run, sprint, push-ups, and curl-ups. She sent her scores to a closed-door panel, including physical education staff, other administrators of the school's choosing, and a consulting physician. Now, that sounds an awful lot like standard procedure that you drug out a lot to make it sound like she had to go through a lot of extra steps. But I'm betting the boys had to do all these things. Because it doesn't say that the boys didn't have to do a run-mile test, sprints, push-ups, curl.
The last line says, even though the boys needed to prove no such thing. I'm pretty sure they still had to sprint and do push-ups and things too. Maybe I don't know. I feel like there does need to be a little extra attention to whether or not this girl's going to get the shit kicked out of her before we allow her on this team. That's probably the school looking out for themselves so they don't get freaking sued. It's like, is this girl going to end up in the hospital tomorrow because we're just like, yeah, let's just let anybody on the team. I'm sorry, but even a tiny boy walking on the field, I'd be like, is this really the sport for you, my boy?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What are the rules when it comes to tiny little kids joining the football team? Because I feel like there's got to be the same concerns.
CD says, Dan, they were just making sure she's developing and not underdeveloped. Gymnasts get the same treatment. Yeah, but we're not talking about professional gymnasts. We're talking about high school or junior high football kids. I don't know. I think when you say, like, I mean, is there any more of a risk of let's say a big bull-dyke butch girl getting hurt than there is of a scrawny little nerd boy joining the team? And really, what they're talking about here is difference in testing in advance. I'd say everybody tests or nobody tests, and I don't give a shit which direction you go with that. All or nothing, sure. I think you're probably lying on some of this because I don't think that the boys just automatically make the cut. But yeah, of course it goes into Gen Zers are changing this because they don't adhere to a strict, rigid binary system, whatever. Now
they don't trust the science, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna go all trans activists right now for a second and just say, can we just do it? Can we just say screw all the binaries? Like, I tried saying, I prefer men not to fracture skulls of women in MMA because biological man joined the female division or whatever. However, I don't like sports in any way that you can make sports more interesting. I am down. I have never talked about sports on this show until trans people started getting involved. So good on them, I suppose. Now people are watching WNBA a million times more than they ever have. And people are so that they can watch what's her name, who's locked up in Russia.
Griner, something.
Yeah.
Brittany Griner, is that her name?
Yeah. When trans people get involved, it makes things more interesting. Now with like, if a woman wants to compete against men, I'm certainly all for that. And even if a man wants to compete against women, like, it's only a man competing against women, quote unquote, if there isn't a bunch of them. Like, if men took over women's sports, if we just blended all of them together, if we got completely rid of this binary system of of gender sports, everybody sucks, and it makes the whole thing much more entertaining. Because
but what would happen?
You don't go to a hockey game to see somebody win. You go to see somebody get a skull fractured.
You know what would happen, though? You put them all together, which is what they claim to want. I'm sorry, once again, male physique is slightly larger most of the time.
Oh, it is.
Than female physique. The entire sport is just going to turn into male-dominant sports at that point. And then
That's what I'm saying. You want people to watch WNBA? Let men do it.
And yeah. I mean,
for equality.
So many men watch the NBA, so many people watch the NBA. So yeah, put the men in the WNBA, then it'll turn just into a offshoot of the NBA, and then we'll just have more NBA teams and more people will be allowed to watch. Allowed.
Call it the FemBA.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like it. The FNBA.
Yeah. So we'll just have a offshoot, like the B tier of the NBA. Like, I know that WNBA was already kind of that, but it's more like the C tier, let's be honest. And there isn't a B tier. We could have a B tier, get rid of the C tier, and then everything, like, everybody's raised up. That's equity, where everybody comes up to a certain level. It drags the women up to being interesting in sports and drags the men down to beating women or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to be fair here.
Being able to compete at levels that they couldn't in the male dominant world, so they switched to the female world.
Right. So we would just end up watching the B tier of people who tried getting into the NBA. It would be like watching college sports, I suppose.
Yeah, there you go.
But bigger and probably uglier. Let's be honest.
I'm fine with it. Let's stop fighting this males and female sports, and let's just push it hard to the point where all the men are in the
bring in weapons. Anything you can do. Steroids, great. All the drugs, don't care. Just make it fun. Like, we're talking about, like, something that stems back from, like, the gladiator times of, like, the strongest man defeating the other strongest man, and they died back then. Mm-hmm. Bring in weapons. Let the women have their minute or two, and join us very strong men in beating the crap out of you. I don't know. No, certainly not. I'm neither strong nor a sports ball guy. But this has been my take on sports. Craig, what do you have today?
I am going to switch directions, and I'm going to talk about veganism, the hypocrisy of veganism. So
you got to pull up the thing there.
Hang on, I'm not seeing the share. There it is. So when you own a company that is that sole purpose is to push vegan food and meatless food, you really look hypocritical when you start eating and chomping on meat yourself. Apparently, the COO of Beyond Meat, who makes the Beyond Burgers and stuff like that, is in the news for biting a man's nose, which seems very hypocritical in my opinion.
It does.
His name is Douglas Ramsey.
I saw Beyond Meat trending yesterday, and the only thing I could think of was I'm going to start a gay vegan, but I repeat myself, gay vegan dating app called Beyond Meat, MEET.
Oh, I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A gay vegan dating app. We're going to do it.
Yep.
We'll make a fortune.
Yes.
So the Beyond Meat exec was arrested after he allegedly bit a man's nose and threatened him. So none of the story, kind of like your story, none of the story do I really care that much about besides the
fact. Just the headline. Just that he bit some meat.
I mean, the only reason this is in the news is because a vegan peddler decided to bite a man's nose. Why else would this be in the news?
Now, why have you read the story at all? Do you know anything about why he bit him in the nose?
Other than the fact that he missed the flavor of flesh and blood. Yeah, it does say.
It's just that unquenchable urge for the taste of flesh and blood.
Yes,
that
once you
all humans are born with.
Yeah, and that's the problem with meatitarians is once you get a taste of, it's like vampirism. Once you get a taste of human blood, or any blood at that, you just can't stop to the point. It's like what they
just ask the queen.
It's like what they talk about the priest, the Catholic priest. It's like, yeah, if you squelch this desire for so long, they turn into these like sexual deviants. Well, if you squelch the need for meat for too long, you turn into a cannibal. That's the real story here.
It makes sense.
So it says Douglas Ramsey is accused of biting a man's nose and threatening to kill him during an incident in a University of Arkansas parking garage. Does this guy look like a vegan to you?
No.
I'm sorry.
That guy, it's like when you see a baseball player and he looks like a WWF player, it's like that guy's roiding. He's like juicing backstage. This guy is juicing like some meat shakes backstage, obviously.
I mean, if you put a goatee on him, he would look like Mark McGuire in his later years.
Exactly.
It says COO of Beyond Meat was arrested over the weekend for allegedly biting a man's nose during an altercation. So let me get to the story because it talks about how he's arrested. He is charged with terrorist threatening.
Wow.
I didn't even know
that's not that surprising. I mean, PETA and all that. They're
right.
They should have been charged a long time ago, probably.
Yes. So apparently threatening to kill somebody now is terrorist threatening now, not just like threat of bodily harm or threat of deadly harm or something like that. It's now a terrorist charge.
Was it for political reasons?
No, it wasn't at all.
Okay, then it's not terrorism.
Something like this. It says, where is it? When an officer arrived at Gate 15, he saw two males with bloody faces. Yeah, one was bloody from getting bit. The other was bloody from doing the biting. After speaking with the two men, as well as a bystander, the officer confirmed that the Beyond Meat executive was allegedly trying to leave the parking garage with his Bronco. Broncos really get a bad name. But there's never a story that involves a Bronco that is a good story.
Right.
A Subaru inched his way. Again, it's a is a diehard vegan driving a Bronco in the first place?
That's fair.
There's so much here that doesn't add up. I don't feel like this guy actually believes the things that he's reading.
It almost feels like when like the COO or whatever of, I don't know, a non-for-profit organization, hypothetically something like Black Lives Matter, buys $1 million mansions on the side and then says that they're like socialists and stuff.
That's rather hypothetical.
Yeah, very hypothetical.
So a Subaru inched its way ahead of Ramsey's SUV and collided with Ramsey's front right tire. Probably bumped it, not collided. If he was inching, he bumped it. And apparently roid rage over there, vegan roid rage, went nuts. He allegedly exited his car and punched through the back windshield of the Subaru. First of all, back window is not a windshield, it's a window. Yes. But yeah, so he completely vegan roided.
This dude is on PCP. This guy, I mean, he might be vegan, but he's on other things too. Or like, is this just like peak veganism where you just go batshit crazy to where you will get out of, if somebody bumps your tire and your immediate response is get out of your car, don't like approach the guy or ask him a question, just punch out his back window with your fist.
It says he caused that driver to get out as well.
I would say so. It would cause me to take off immediately and or like run him over.
Says Ramsey allegedly pulled the Subaru owner in close and started punching his body before he bit the owner's nose, ripping the flesh on the tip of his nose, according to the preliminary report.
Dear God, this is worse than Mike Tyson.
The Subaru owner and bystander accused Ramsey of threatening to kill the victim. That's where the threatening terrorism came into play. People in both vehicles got out to try to stop the incident from going any further. I think you missed your mark there because it went pretty far.
Hey, please don't bite off any more extremities from this man.
This guy is besides being so many things, he is quite the hypocrite because before joining Beyond Meat and peddling their freaking non-meat products, he worked for Tyson Foods and then McDonald's.
Oh, jeez. Is that how is that his origin story? Like Batman seeing his parents get shot in an alleyway? He worked for these companies and that's how he became angry vegan man?
I guess, yes. So I don't know. Like, I feel like there's so much hypocrisy here.
I feel like we need a supervillain name for him.
This is putting a stain on veganism that, I mean,
because they were doing great before.
Yeah, I mean, they were here, and now they were like down here, and now they're like slightly lower for being vegans.
Like, you think we're insufferable? Just watch when we start eating meat again.
Yes, or wait till we've been deprived of meat for, because it says he joined. When did he join?
Joined what? Joined veganism?
Beyond Meat.
Oh.
He worked at McDonald's in 2019. So
he might not even be a vegan. He might just be a guy who was like doing good business, and he's like, "Hey, I'll come give you guys the secrets to how to sell meat."
But for not meat products,
right?
Like we're gonna take everything that I learned about the meat industry and we're gonna incorporate it into the non-meat industry. I feel though that if you are going to peddle that kind of product, you have to sign a contract saying I will not eat
bite
any
faces.
meat. And well, that too. But
now, any meat, does that include the people who are currently using my new gay vegan, but I repeat myself, dating app called Beyond Meat?
But that's a different kind. Like maybe. Can
you be a gay vegan?
I don't think so. Maybe it sells like sex toys, like Beyond Meat, like it's almost the real thing. Sex toys, kind of like Impossible Burgers.
Yeah,
we're gonna create a sex toy called the Impossible Burger.
Oh dear God, the Impossible Dildo. Call it Beyond Meat.
If you're working for a company that supposedly says that your meat alternative is the real thing, and like we have to do this in order to save the world, because that's what these companies are supposedly all about, is saving the world.
Yeah.
You gotta be a vegan yourself. I mean, you can't. I feel like I'm not one that said, like, if you go work for a football company, you better be a football player. No, but the push for these people is
that it's
cows are
immoral.
cow parts are bad. Slaughtering of cows is bad, and we're all bad humans, so we better eat these bean burgers. So you can't be a freaking meat shake drinking, nose biting, freaking Terminator guy and push these kind of things as the moral solution to global warming and animal cruelty. You
Right.
can't do that and have come off the backs of the animal cruelty itself.
Right. You can say like great coaches aren't necessarily great players unless it is you have your team and your society has deemed it immoral to not be a good player. In that case, the coach better be a good player, otherwise he's immoral and just full of shit.
Yes, absolutely. So it sounds like he's full of shit, and he's a really
Shocking.
bad dude.
Yeah, shocking.
He's corn pop. He's a really bad dude.
Yeah. So, do we have any like word? Like, I mean, this guy was arrested for going full zombie. Full zombie. Just hits a. Maybe that was it. Maybe it was like The Happening. Have you seen that M. Night Shyamalan movie where something happens, something in the wind, and then people like start running into things with their cars, and then they get out and kill themselves or whatever. But this guy bumped a tire or got his tire bumped. Went full zombie, got out, smashed out a windshield with his bare fist, and then bit a man's face off. That is not like... There's something more to that than just normal veganism. I know that they are crazy, but this is next level.
Yeah, this is not normal human behavior. Unless, like
Neither
I said,
is veganism.
Well, yeah, there's that. Maybe there's some element in meat that your body and your brain needs, and when those sensories are not being fulfilled, you just like go on this like crazy terrorist rage.
Apparently.
Like, rage biting and rage punching because you're missing some element that is in meat. I don't know. But this guy doesn't seem to be in short supply of protein, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's true. So is he do we have anything else on this? Or is this breaking story still at bay or whatever?
Well, it said he's due to be in court on a such and such day. He's held on a $10,000 bond for the terrorist threat charge and a $1,000 bond for the battery charge. Which, if he was in Illinois, he'd be getting off and not paying any of those bails.
Oh, I'm aware.
Battery is included in that. Hey, you don't have to pay bail for this.
Right.
Petty drug charges weren't on that list, but
I
battery...
agree with the Illinois law. You shouldn't have to pay bail. In fact, you shouldn't be allowed to pay bail.
Yeah, yes, that too. You should just sit in jail until
exactly. Either you're a threat to society or you're not a threat to society. And if you're not a threat to society, why the fuck are we having this conversation?
The thing that gets me is that drug-induced violence was on that list, but petty drug charges was not on that list.
Wow. I mean, is PCP a petty drug charge?
Sure.
Or bath salts? I don't know.
If you're not biting somebody's nose off, sure. I feel like the drug-induced violence is what we should be more concerned about, like biting bitches' noses off.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just pissed that he was in a Subaru. Maybe that was it. He's just like, I only like American-made vehicles.
Get a Bronco, you queer. Anyway, how do we end this? The systemsdown.tv is where you can find more things about me. Thank you for watching these things that we did in the morning, and they happened, and they happened on time. So now I don't know what to do with myself right now. At TSIDpod on Twitter, and tomorrow, 2 p.m. corn time, roasting some news and talking about things like, I don't know, what are the things going on now? The big ones?
COVID.
Biden said a bunch of stupid things, and COVID's over. Lots of fun things going on tomorrow at 2 on the news with Dave Casey. Craig, where can people find you and all the things you're doing?
They can find me at breakthebellpod.com or follow me on Twitter or all the other social medias at breakthebellpod. We drop our main episode tomorrow morning, which is about the CIA being in bed with big tech. No way. Surprising, shocking. But listen, it's very interesting.
Yeah. One more comment. Thank you all for being here. Jack Skellington, he was first, lest we forget. And so he will also be last. Jack Skellington says, dang, Dan looks so good, so young shaven. And thank you for watching Two Scoops.
This has been Two Scoops Morning News every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 a.m. Central or whenever we feel like it. Until next time, hang in there, America.
Well, we did it.
We did.
We're still recording, but we did it.
We did it.
Goodbye, everyone.